Sandshrew, the best Pokemon! Whenever you ask someone what their favorite Pokemon is, you often won't be surprised by what you hear. Among the answers you can expect you'll find the popular picks, such as Charizard, Gengar, or Gyarados, etc. Ask some others and you'll likely hear a few Mewtwo's, Snorlaxes, or Scyther maybe. Honestly, yeah, you'll hear a lot of Gen 1, just the nature of these things, I guess. With some newer fans, I'm sure you'll hear a Greninja or a Garchomp. Good enough choices, I suppose. Regardless, the point I'm trying to make is that oftentimes a lot of similar Pokemon seem to rise to the top of these lists, and for good reason. But those Pokemon have never really spoken to me in any meaningful way. Not just because I don't tend to gravitate towards the cooler kinds of Pokemon, but because I was personally never able to feel that kind of personal connection with them as I could others. I know this in some way comes off as me not liking the popular thing, and I won't deny that could very well be a part of it. But regardless, they just are not for me. So what is my favorite Pokemon? I'm sure to a good many of you this may be an odd pick, but for nearly as long as I can remember, I've loved Sandshrew. Yup, good ol' number 27. What isn't there to like about the guy? He's cute, tiny, and can roll up in a tiny ball. Literally perfect. Now, that answer is personally all I need to justify my undying love for my little man. But just despite that bitch brevity, I suppose I can go into a little bit more detail. While my undying love was still developing at the time, I can easily point to the 8th episode of the original anime, Path to the Pokemon League. In that episode, Ash and the gang happen upon some guy in the woods with some absolutely jacked Pokemon. This madman right here decided to win 100 Pokemon battles before going to get his gym badges. Already this kid was my idol growing up, just an absolute lord working to the bone for his dreams. His main Pokemon is Sandshrew, and this guy is just a beast. This little guy is wearing a weighted training armor like fucking Goku and pumping weights like a champ. Meanwhile, that dope Pikachu can't even lift a 1-pounder. This guy is so crazy, he's been trained to be resistant to water. When have you ever seen a Pokemon be trained to literally overcome its type weakness? That shit is crazy. And I'm sure there's some random episode in the last 20 years of the anime that did the same thing, but this guy was the first. I don't know if that totally justifies my feelings, but I don't know, for whatever reason it just stuck to me. And of course, you have Sandshrew popping up every episode in the opening, ready to give you a warm hug. And those are logs on the long, burning flame of my love for the guy, helping buy time until my love blossoms into what it is today. Now, I've never been a terribly huge fan of the 3D Pokemon games, and Pokemon X and Y is certainly no exception, the whole game being underbaked and fairly empty. However, if this game were to have a single saving grace, and it does, it is the magic it gave Sandshrew. Now unfortunately, despite constant searching, I was not able to find said animation, but I do hope you'll take my word for it. Whenever this little guy does anything, he jumps and does a cute little ball flip. If you told me that wasn't the cutest thing you ever seen, I would hang you for lying. Just look at the little guy go. Just the cutest goddamn thing to exist on this earthly plane. Believe it or not, it was this exact game that solidified Sandshrew as my favorite Pokemon. I can't tell you exactly why it had such a powerful effect on me, but what can I say? Love doesn't have to make any sense. And if I had to give a second guess, it would probably have to do with Poke-Ami, the little game that allowed you to play with your Pokemon. That had a huge role in Sandshrew for sure. And as if to make me question why I doubt these games, Sun and Moon had to go ahead and give Sandshrew a new form, a lowland Sandshrew. This icy little fella is like a tiny igloo, and while I may not love him to the same degree I do love Sandshrew Classic, I can surely appreciate a new spin on my favorite little guy. But what about Sandslash, I hear you cry. And yes, I do like Sandslash quite a bit in fact. He looks really cool with all his spines, and his Alolan form is really cool with its icy back. He's really cool to me, and I think he's a perfect evolution. It makes perfect sense and takes him in the exact direction he should have. I have nothing against Sandslash at all, I just like Sandshrew more. Whenever I have him on my team, I delay his evolving for as long as I think is possibly feasible. trying to take him as far as the game will let me, but I do eventually evolve him, and he always remains my favorite Pokemon on my team. That's all to say that yes, I love Sandslash, if that were the kind of thing you were wondering about. But yeah, I think that's really the extent of everything I had to say about Sandshrew. I love him so much, in fact, I drive everywhere with him right on my dashboard, keeping me company. Of course, joined by my man Corduroy. But what's your favorite Pokemon? Why isn't it Sandshrew? If it wasn't Sandshrew, please explain to me why you would settle for second best with a king right in front of your eyes. Regardless, I'd like to hear about whatever Pokemon you like in the comments. And if you're willing, I'd like to hear a bit about why you like him so much. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a lovely night.